WandaVision episode 5, a very special episode. On a very special episode, I'm sorry. I'm looking at it right now. Um, this was an interesting one. I did a reaction for it. Technically, it was like a 15-second thing because, we get to the end. The ending is what we're here to talk about. So, but gotta go fast. Um, so the whole episode's going. I'm enjoying the episode, right? I'm like, okay. At first, I was a little worried because I was like, "Oh man, they're going." It seemed like they were going full sitcom again, and they did for the most. They did like a full split. They did pretty much what I was hoping they would do. So we get the split, and even on the inside, even on the actual TV show portion, everything was like 10 times better than what they had before because Vision is just like, well, that's not right. Didn't you see what she just did? And this episode was pretty much everyone figured it out anyway. But this episode was definitely the one where it was like, okay, Agnes literally stopped and was just like, so you want me to like take that back, or like this was clearly the episode where they're just like, okay, we know you figured out some of this stuff. Some things are very obvious because we're obviously transferring this stuff from comics to the small screen, I guess. So this episode they just made it really easy for us. Like, hey, here you go. Like we know you guys figured it out. They knew that before the show came out because it's like once again transferring characters from comics to TV. So this was a good episode for that. It was very clear. It was like, just here's the answer. We were kind of making it like subtle, and so he read it. She literally just stopped in the middle. Was like, should I take that back? Vision sees that and is like, wasn't that weird? Like, why did she do all that? And it's like, she didn't do anything. She didn't even notice. And Wanda's just, boom, she makes the little collar for the dog, and she doesn't care anymore. And it's like, maybe you don't have to hide. She did have a point though, which I thought was pretty funny. It was like, you can't use magic. Like she was right there. It's like she didn't even notice the babies went to 5-year-olds. I think we're good, which is kind of funny because I'm like, in any realistic situation would be like, that is a good point. I guess it doesn't really matter anymore. But I thought that was just a funny moment where it was like, of all the weird stuff going on, that was like the one thing that made sense. She was like, she didn't even notice they went from babies to 5-year-olds. I was just like, all right, we'll see what happens. Those kids are interesting too. Aside from the fact that they can basically do what Wanda does, they also know that things are off, like because they're her creation. So in some weird sense, they're almost like her subconscious because she's like, I think when they came in, they were like, oh, we want to see Dad, and it was like, well, he's at work, and it's like, but it's Saturday, and she's like, no, it's Monday. It was like, this morning was Saturday, and that's because she created them, but somewhere in there, they're like her subconscious, so they know, even though that she created them, they're almost like AI a little bit. Like they know that things are a little bit wonky, but they don't understand it in the same way that Vision does. So he's, he frees Norm for a second. He's flipping. I was like, where's my phone? Where's my sister? My dad's sick. All this stuff. And he's like, well, I gotta blip you back, buddy. So really crazy episode. Wanda also leaves. She left and was just like, oh, this drone, because the one dude who was being a dick, he he lets Monica do the thing where it's like, okay, what if we send in a drone that's from that era? That way nothing needs to change. Like it won't alter anything. Like, my clothes won't change. They find out that her clothes that she went in with, because she was wearing the Kevlar, it morphed into her clothes, which became like 80% Kevlar, which I thought was really cool. So I was like, all right, we'll send something from that era so that we can use it exactly as intended and nothing will happen to it. And then of course it's like, surprise, there's missiles on this drone. It's armed. So Wanda was super pissed. I was like, all right, you almost hit me. You almost hit my kids. So she just throws the drone out there. I thought they were actually going to kill that guy. For a split second, I was like, this might get insanely dark, and they might actually kill this dude off. But then she goes back in the dome. She kind of does the full red thing. They reference the fact that she does not have a moniker. She's still just Wanda Maximoff. She doesn't have the Scarlet Witch moniker yet, which I thought was interesting. It was like, oh, no random name or anything like that. And I was like, And then, of course, I still can't remember Kat Dennings' character. I still can't remember her actual character's name. She calls it a hex. So I was like, oh, okay. Like that was their tiny little nod to me. Like, okay, it's a spell. It's a hex. Like it's it's hexagonal. But it's like, no, they did that because that's of course their easy way of kind of inching toward the whole Scarlet Witch thing. So I thought that was cool. I was like, all right, a little nod in there. It's like, oh, I just call it that because of its shape. And I'm like, that's interesting because you're under a hex, you're under a spell when you go into it, so it totally works, both ways. So I was like, all right, they're inching towards the Scarlet Witch name. She comes out, tosses the drone, mind controls everybody to point the gun at the guy, and then she leaves and everything's good. It's like, this is it. This is your one warning. And even Vision says it. And I love the way they basically just doled out all the answers. Most of the answers at least. She's in control now. But even Vision says, like, because that was a part of the thing. Some people believe she was in control 100%. I was one of the people that was like, I can tell she's in control at some points, because even when the stuff came up with Quicksilver in the other episode, it was clear that she was like, what do you mean? And like, it was clear that she was confused, and I think I mentioned in that review, it seemed like a part of her, or a part of Agnes, was kind of helping her be like, okay, hey, I want you to forget, but things have obviously gotten a little bit crazy, and as Vision said in this episode, I believe it was subconscious at first, but now you're in full control. Like, you understand what's happening. And of course she does. Like, it's very clear at this point, although there seem to be some subconscious things, which leads us right into that amazing ending where I think everyone thought Quicksilver was coming back, right? I think we all had it in our heads like, yeah, Quicksilver's coming back. This is also going to bring mutants in. Somehow, I've yet to hear one person combine those two, and I didn't do it myself either. I, for some reason in my head, and I honestly, I hadn't really thought about it much watching the episode before the show came out. It was like, they're definitely gonna bring him back. Like, there was even like dialogue where they say, like, the kids reference, their uncle. So it's like, oh, they are gonna bring him back. That makes sense. And of course, it's like reverse House of M. That's what everybody's been talking about, and it just made sense. And putting those two ideas together would have made this so obvious, but I never did that. Like I said, I completely stopped thinking about him actually coming back while watching the show. I kind of just forgot about that whole theory. Had I heard it, I would have been like, oh yeah, and I probably would have put those two ideas together. Like, they're adding mutants, they're gonna bring Quicksilver back, they're gonna bring the mutant version of Quicksilver from, I was gonna say from the MCU, but from the X-Men movies. It's not. There's no point in even saying the Fox movies, the X-Men movies, because that's all there is, and then Deadpool. Technically, the New Mutants, but so that was an ending. That was a heck of an ending, and I was like, they better show his face, or I'm gonna be super pissed, because I was like, don't end on this type of cliffhanger. And I still wish it didn't end on that cliffhanger, but they showed his face, and I was like, oh, and it just changed everything. So now there's life before this episode, and now there's life now. So it was a good episode. I definitely enjoyed it. They were going back and forth between the sitcom and reality. Wanda does the same thing. Apparently, she just got super pissed off and was like, okay, I get it now. I'm not kind of, I was in that subconscious mode, but people been effing up my flow. So now I just got to let people know, like, stay away from me. Just stay away from me. And then she just goes back home. So I don't know how things are about to play out because she's in control. Vision can't be controlled, and he's super pissed off and is like, I know what you're doing. You know what you're doing now. It used to be subconscious, but now you understand it. I don't know what they're going to do as far as the reference for Agnes and stuff like that. Like, I know there's that scene in the trailer where he actually does talk to her, and he does touch her like he does Norm. Like, in that trailer, he does potentially wake her up. I mean, obviously, we haven't seen that scene yet. So it's possible that he tries that and nothing actually happens, and then she's just like, okay, I guess you're figuring it all out. Wanda seems to be okay with it. I'll just let you know how it's going, because she says that he's dead in that episode, or whatever episode that's going to end up being, but in the trailer she says that to him. So it must just get to a point where it's like, okay, everything's just a little wild. Here you go, you're dead. This is what's happening. We see his dead body just all stretched out and stuff, and Wanda went to go get him, so she was super pissed off. I don't know if we'll find out that maybe she made a deal before she went to get him. It was like, if I do this, everyone's talking about the whole Mephisto thing. I mentioned the Dormammu thing last time. So there are some possibilities that deals were made, and it was like, okay, if I go get him, I can take him to this spot, and that will allow for this specific thing to happen. And Agnes could be a part of that, because obviously either Mephisto or Dormammu, they wouldn't really be super hands-on. So I was like, all right, I'll send my my right-hand woman, and so that's why she's there. She's kind of the the in-between. So that could still be a part of it, where she just had to go steal him, and then that will allow for kind of the rest of the deal to take place. But I don't know what's gonna happen next. But this was kind of it. This was like, oh, here he is. Here's Quicksilver. If I could save time in a bottle. Wise choice, makes perfect sense. And now we kind of know, all right, well, they brought him over. And they could, we know that they're going to be bringing the X-Men over. We always knew that. That was, once they bought it, it was like, that's inevitable. It's going to happen at some point. I saw a video a couple of days ago where they referenced, I think, when they did the crazy episode where they showed everything on the outside, there was some random mention where they were like, Sword was like, oh man, we lost astronauts. Those could be the Fantastic Four. And I was like, I didn't notice that, because, that's the type of MCU stuff they do. It's like, you missed this random Easter. There's 100 videos, like 7 Easter eggs you missed. So they referenced losing astronauts. I was like, So they have the Fantastic Four, because that's an easy way to do it. Like, we said it back then. You didn't notice. You weren't paying attention. So the Fantastic Four are out there, because that's the easiest way to do it. They are astronauts. That's just how you do it. They just lost them. Something will happen, and then that will allow for the Fantastic Four to exist. They just brought in obviously the X-Men version of Quicksilver, so they recast him as they said in the episode. And I don't know what they're gonna do next. So that's the that's the new mystery now. Is like they have him, and it seems like it would be stupid at this point. I think it's easy to say it would be really dumb if somehow this wasn't him brought over from another universe. Like that would almost be stupid, right? But they could technically do that if they wanted to. They could just instantly recast it and just be like, it's not the same guy. He just looks the same. It's, obviously the same actor. So I doubt they'll do that, especially considering the whole Doctor Strange stuff and the multiverse of madness. It's going to be like, well, she pulled him from another universe, and that's just kind of how it went. He was Quicksilver in that universe, and she couldn't really resurrect someone's body that she didn't have. She had Vision's body, but she didn't have her brother's body. She couldn't just bring him back. So it had to be like, oh, well, if we bring him back to life, he has to be brought over from somewhere else. And I feel like that's kind of how they're going to play it. Like, he was pulled from the other universe. So I think that's how they'll do it. They will actually merge the universes, kind of how they did with the actual comic books, and just be like, all right, that's the Ultimate Universe. This is the main Marvel Universe. And then some madness happened. I won't get into all of that, but you can look it up on YouTube. And now everything's just one universe. Actually, DC just did that too. Everybody's just streamlining now these days. So we'll see what happens. But it was an amazing ending. I was like, okay. So they brought him over. We all expected the House of M, but the inverse of House of M. So this isn't necessarily that, with her just saying, no more mutants, or bring mutants in. But something is happening here. So at some point, if he does break out of it, that'll be our clue. So either he's gonna be stuck in this loop where he's just a character. There is nothing about him that remembers anything from the X-Men, and that's what we have to wait and see. If Vision is like, so your brother is dead, like somehow, Vision will figure this out. I would assume he already knows, technically, because he was like, who is this? And then it's just the brother thing. He knows that her brother is dead. So if he just taps him on the forehead and he starts going off like, where the F am I? Like, I used to be here and this and that. That'll pretty much be our answer. They probably won't do that in the next episode, but I can hope. So that's where the mystery is now. Is he straight up pulled from another universe? I would say yes. I think that's the coolest way to do it. It's the easiest way to do it. That way they can say, we pulled him from another universe. That's how big her powers are getting. Doctor Strange has to come in and kind of help out. Elizabeth Olsen said that there was going to be some cameo. I don't know if it was this one, but she mentioned it was a cameo on the same scale as the Mandalorian season 2 finale. I won't say exactly what that is, even though it's if you've been on the internet, that's probably been spoiled. But she said it was on that same level, and I'm like, nothing could really possibly touch that unless they pulled off unless Patrick Stewart came in. I don't really see that happening. They'd have to get a classic person, not this event, very cool, very cool. It's not on that Mandalorian level. Like, don't get me wrong, it's amazing, but it's not on that same hype. So this could be it. This could be the reference she was making, and it was amazing. But I knew nothing. Whatever. It just, even if Patrick Stewart came in, I'm like, it's still not gonna top Mandalorian for me personally. I love me some X-Men, but it's also not even that old compared to the Star Wars stuff. So I don't know. Either way, this was great. I love the episode. I'm excited for we're episode 5, so we only have 4 more to go. We have 1 month left of this series, and I was hoping it would get this way, and it seems like it is. It's just picking up. It's just like, here's some stuff, here's some answers, here's another giant question. So I assume we should expect some more answers kind of going forward, because they're going to do some research. That's the thing with the next episode. I feel like we're going to get an answer, because everyone's going to be like, she recast him. She recast her own brother because he's dead. So who's this guy? They have all this amazing technology. They're going to be like, we cannot figure out who this guy is. Like, there's going to be some definitive answer. Either they know who he is, or they will not have any identification on this man as a human being across the entire planet. And that will kind of be our answer. Like, okay, there's no doppelganger of him on this earth or anything like that. He's just plucked from a different reality. And I think that'll be our answer. When they do that research and try to find out who is this new, Pietro, that's when we'll know exactly what they're doing. So that's my theory for it. I can't believe I didn't think of this. This was so obvious. It was like, House of M, obviously bringing back Quicksilver. I just forgot about him coming back. I just forgot, because it's such an easy thing. Once it happened, it's like, of course they were gonna recast him. That's the perfect way to lead into the X-Men stuff. Like, we knew it was going to be, the reverse of House of M. That's the easiest thing, and I hadn't heard a single person say it. Now I gotta watch Matt Pat's video, because I think that was a part of his theory. So I gotta look that up. I'm just curious now who guessed that one. But I would love to know your thoughts on this episode, so please put them down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts about it. Of course, going forward, what the F is happening? I mean, is he gonna be the Fox Studios version of Quicksilver, where he was pulled from another universe? Are we gonna find that out in the next episode? There's so many ways they could do it. Like, either the people on the outside try to look him up, Vision can just be like, well, let's see who he really is. Like, they have two very easy ways to do it. And Vision specifically said in this episode, I can't be controlled. So if he wants to figure out who this guy is just to see, takes 2 seconds. They'll probably find a way around that just to tease us for like another couple of episodes, because the ultimate reveal, that's probably something they'll want to say for like episode 8 or 9. So I get it. It'll just suck because I'm like, it would take 2 seconds for them to put it into the next episode. They're going to do the research on the outside. Vision can just tap him on the forehead and figure it out. So they're probably going to tease us, but I'd love to know your theories. Should we expect another cameo? Is somebody else coming in? Are they just going to be like, boop, here's all the X-Men that, that actually want to work. So no Mystique, even though she's technically dead. So good for her, because she did not want to do that last movie. But I would love to know your thoughts on this, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.